one world is the aim in everything that we do. Blessings and one love to everybody that's on the Facebook check-in. Please make sure to and technical stuff going on right now. Please make sure to share the video, share the conversation, join the conversation, like and follow Soundbytes International, Soundbytes Radio on Instagram.
We got some things today for you too.
We're going to do some different things. Always talking about different topics that help push us forward. Within the landscape of talking about Black consciousness and also the human landscape as well. Getting to the root of things that can help us push through and have forwarding progressive conversations. Break free from discomfort and push through to get to the root of the matter, so we can get
I got you in there, Victoria. I may pull you into the live in a few minutes, so just hang loose with us. We're gonna listen to a song right now. And we may have a special guest on, Victoria Davis, if you're available for it right now, my sister, to join the conversation. We're going to be discussing a couple of things around police brutality and why, and what are the possibilities and circumstances around that. And we'll also be talking about, we'll do our health update. So stay with us, and we'll also be talking about, are we as a universal people, as we are social people, are we irresponsible? We want to discuss some of those things. So take a listen to...
This is Zero.
Yes.
It's a new single.
Take a listen. New single. Yes. Mad P, bring it in. This is for that power. This is for that powerful step when you're out every day. And you got to feel something. Ignite.
Always wondered what my purpose was on paper. Wondered if I was moving in God's favor. Wondered if the time came up and I get lost up in the vapors. Wondered if I ever relish in the most flavor. The way I'm sitting rooms consistent with my vision and the spanning system creating down. What's the end of George and Miz? People's spirit became a goal to replenish me. Power I never relinquished, man. No longer a spectator of anguish, going harder if they try to vanquish. They lost in translation, like the speaker's Spanish. German knees, homie please. I was set up better get with the program. The world is at knees. So I'll never be concerned with the wish don't freeze. The pain is at ease, soldiers on the front lines fighting the war. This is theirs and it's a fair. Of this life in a Christmas fair. Say they want a hero, say they want a hero. I ain't fighting motherfuckers for a number one spot, fucking ego. I'm the only competition, they can find my position, no, it's me low. It's me low. I'm just doing what I gotta set the tide. And the block, I'm getting mad as a problem solved. This is how I take this whole shit back to zero. Digging, drinking, skill, just getting killed, jumping, rapping, still. I move as I will, always keep it real. Do me for the real, fight colonial, devils on the hill, no fucks how they feel. That's my skill. With every bar, I'ma seal the deal. Pull the boulevard, and these broken dreams, I should put the heel. Fuck off on the red pill, pump the cold, pull the plug. Work is never done, we the chosen one. So we won't go on just yet, we're not. We the chosen like the power, we the chosen one. We get loud on every stage, so the show's done. I'm a slavery and shame, we gon' overcome. All the people good pain, I'ma throw them ones. Heavy dedicated, was predicated by the struggle that you really taking it, but I'm grateful. It's a soundtrack in the city. What a hero, what a hero. I ain't fighting motherfuckers for a number one spot, fucking ego.
No ego.
I'm the only competition, they can find my position, no, it's me low. I'm just doing what I gotta set the tide. And the bottom get denied as a problem solved. I'ma take this whole shit back to zero.
Yes. That is Zero.
Fire.
By yours truly. And I'm going to take a minute to talk about that particular piece. Zero is important to me as a kind of a way to kick off the new project, upcoming project, Revolution and Legacy Volume 2. The Legacy was basically going to be a well-rounded discussion around, my artistry and where, my music has come to up to now. Varying topics or what have you. And Zero is important to me when looking at certain lines like, erasing the images of things like, the Darren Wilsons and George Zimmermans of the world.
Right.
Looking at the issues where, we have these people of justice that come in our way, like the judges that were all of a sudden, going missing or being killed when speaking in an upright stance for Black, justice as of last year, I believe it was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And all these things coming in, like how is everything being done in the power of patriarchal, white supremacist, oppressive society to push down the idea or the concept of Black liberation in the name of being, in equity and independent, in equity with everyone. You know what I mean?
Independent and self-determining.
Right, and self-determining, and and where we stand as being voices in these plights, being voices to bring attention to these issues for a more positive and forwarding mission to have things turn out the way we see fit. You know what I mean? And it could be a scary ride, but it's like you really gotta. We can no longer stand comfortable in the face of an oppressive society, right? And and it takes us to break free of our skin, peel our onion layers back, and get to the root of the matter.
I appreciate you. Victoria says she has some people to log in so they can listen to our radio show.
Appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Sister Victoria.
Thank you.
We're gonna bring you in a few minutes. We're gonna get into that conversation around police brutality and your specific situation.
Blessings, Brother Joseph. I see you on the check-in on the Soundbytes page. Absolutely. Remember, you can check in on Soundbytes International on the Facebook page or in the chat. Also, WVMradio.net. We're live on WVMradio.net.
Streaming live.
You can catch that as well as our podcast afterwards. Yes. Join the Soundbytes Radio on Instagram. You know, where everything takes place, you know, with the pictures and such. Yeah. So you were talking about, you know, you said it was a recent issue. Police brutality.
Yeah, well, you wanted to get into that. I was just like blown away by the song. The song was really like moving me. So, are we gonna bring in some Enigma or bring in? We could bring in Art of Noise again. Can we bring that back in?
Okay. Yeah. That's right. Can we get Art of Noise, please?
I appreciate you, brother.
I didn't know you needed me to do that.
No worries. No worries.
Yeah,
okay, no worries.
No, it's fine.
Jump in there when you're ready.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, whenever you're ready.
Whenever you're ready, you can just jump in there. So the song was actually like it was in my inspiration. It was a piece around, you know, if you can imagine. We were all geared up for the Black Panther movie, so we were really excited about that. And we were working on the collaboration, the two of us, and the planning around what that would seem like to be on that soundtrack. So, you know, with the inspiration of, you know, seeing a Black Panther walking through the jungle, you know, walking through an experience, walking through his life as a king and as a fighter for liberation and power for his people, this song was born out of the intention of having it be a part of that project. So hold us up for that, hold Path P up for that, and we still standing for that possibility in reality. Even in the series that I'm sure will be following it, because they love putting the series on something after the movie, like it's thebomb.com. So, yeah.
You saying you saw an article about police brutality, right?
Yeah, so we can move into that. We can move directly into that. We're going to bring you in Victoria in just a couple of minutes. So, I really wanted to have that be a part of the conversation.
Yeah.
With, you know.
It's so important how we share our message out to, you know, to people. We all have our different ways, our different pieces that have brought us into this life. Our different traits, our different talents, and how we use them in the social landscape is important. And it's up to us to never let anybody else to define that, but like how important it is. You know, it's important. Period.
It's definitely
you know,
important.
So
it's definitely important.
You know, I choose to stay in this landscape with my music as my message.
Figure out if it's a national issue and it's something that's going on across the country. What is the case study around that? What is the case study around what is the motivating factor for police brutality and people of color, and people who have had a Black cultural experience? This is a conversation that is always like, you know, and I really realized that, you know, I had inside of a recap of last week a little bit of we're going to touch on both back and forth around, you know, this police brutality and why. But also around a recap from last week. You know, we have a system of people who are not willing, including people who have had a Black cultural experience, who are not willing to be what actually is happening in the society. They would rather be lofty and fluffy and placate instead of actually being with exactly what is occurring. And you know what's occurring because you know what is actually happening. You know, as Sister Victoria said, it's a white supremacist issue, power and control dynamic. Absolutely. And see, as people, we really want to be clear that no matter whether you are a person who has had brown skin or melanated or lighter skin for whatever particular reason, there is techniques, methods, and mechanisms in play to secure a circumstance. Some space is clear that they want to ensure this. Why? Because on a national level, the article says that only 84% of all police precincts only require a high school diploma. So you want to look at the demographic of who are these police officers. Who are they? Police officers are working poor, the lateral of people who have color, because you want to be like in somewhat of a comparative conversation. And the police were originally, like, if you want to dial it back, police were definitely, Victoria says, police were used as the slave catchers. They were the patrolmen. They were the individuals, the overseers. So when they created that whole Bacon's Rebellion thing, and they had these, these individuals who, because it was easier to have the division with lighter skin, whiteness being a token of superiority over even the slave. Even if they weren't that much above the slave, they were a little bit enough to be able to oppress somebody else. And whenever you can oppress people in this space, whenever you're the boss, or you know how we do, the psychosis around that, you begin to behave with a certain kind of stature because you get to run people. Right. So, and that conversation is still present. We know exactly where that comes from. If you can run people, if you can overarch people, if you can direct people, not because you're a person who is creating harmony, not because you're a great planner, not because you can organize people and galvanize support, but because someone said that you can boss people around. So these police officers who are actually working class poor, many of them straight up poor, just like lower class individuals, right?
More than likely using it as a means to get out of being poor.
Right, and because if you look at your experience, we are more alike than we are different, right? So most people are like basic, regular ass people. Like, let's be real with it. Most people are not really freaking extraordinary. They're not like really like Einstein. They're not really like, splitting atoms and developing cures for cancer and developing new agricultural methodology to support us as a humanity and our food consumption. Most people aren't like that. Most people are just regular, basic, everyday, humdrum, go to work, do their little things, party and everything here, party over there, get in a little car, take a little kids, go to a little graduation. Oh, nice job, Bobby. And keep it. Most people are just regular John and Jane Q. Public, right? Mm-hmm. And for those that aren't, right, you've built your life up from having had certain challenges in life. And as you've had certain challenges in life, you want to expand your landscape, right? We need a book club, a history of being accepted by the oppressor seems much more attractive than being oppressed to the people who do not know their history. The benefits are attractive. Well, in the system that has a technique, method, and mechanism for rewarding oppression, many of us as people of color, we're extremely heavy-handed when we're dealing with other people of color. We are the most heavy-handed because we must ensure that we've assimilated to the system and that we are clear that we are strong against, blackness represents bad. Blackness represents what's not working. So we have to make sure that we're hard on anything that's not working. And that has made inside the white supremacist system, in the backs and halls of our minds, anything that's not working is a person of color or what they stand for.
You disrupting the system is disrupting my system, so please stop.
Right, and we as the people of color, we represent that. So when you want to parallel that next to where are these officers coming from, where are they across the country, why do they have no, when you look at a person who, for whatever reason, doesn't necessarily, because education in this society, formal education, in a community of color is no indicator of intelligence. So I'm clear about this. So let me disclaim that first, that in this system of methods, mechanisms, and techniques, education is no indicator of intelligence.
Nope.
Okay, so let's be clear. However, in the system that we live in, and you know what? People who have had a white cultural experience are committed to this system. So they actually use it as their foundation for all things. And they're not thinking outside of that space. So oftentimes they're not thinking outside of that space. So if you have people who have achieved a high school diploma and that is as far as they've gone, there's certain things that happen when you reach higher level academia, right? There's certain types of conversations that are had, and there are certain types of sensitivities that are developed because you go through history, you go through sociology, you may go through some entry level and foundation psychology courses. So when you see cops who are lacking an ability to mediate circumstances with people of color, and then you have situations where they just straight up attack people of color. Because we've watched videos all over the place where white officers are literally looking for an opportunity to use a black person as a punching bag, point blank period. Like that's just the bottom line. We had an experience right now in LA where we had a senior officer on the force in LA, and we had a recruit who was asking questions. I'm gonna post this video for you guys to see the news reporting on this issue. You are going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe this. No, don't not believe this, because this is actually the norm. Because you refuse to be with it, that doesn't mean that it's not existing. People who have had a white cultural experience, who are barely skirting their way out of a high school diploma and a GED, all over America, inside of their own personal ignorance, as an indicator of exposure, as an indicator of experiences that they've had outside of their small community, they fed into what is the cultural structure. Because let me tell you, black people who want to look at people who are, in our culture, and black people who have black cultural experience, when we look at individuals who have a quote unquote GED or have dropped out of high school, there are certain behaviors and attitudes that are consistent. And this is psychology, people. This is sociology. This is how they measure you. This is how every time you make a step, they meet you 2 steps ahead. This is how. Because they have calculated your behavior based on your ability to process concepts. And neighborliness and morality and community and support are upper level quote unquote functions that if you're not with, thank you DJS, I appreciate you, that if you're not with those actions and you have never been taught those actions outside of high school, because I was taught, I'm raised in a, Southern Baptist Christian home for most of my early young years. Charity begins at home. You know what I mean? So, you teach your kids to sit down and don't do, but we know that people who have had a white culture experience don't raise their kids the same way, right? With those types of restrictions, quote unquote restrictions, when it really is not about restrictions. It's really about being in the space where you're not the only person in the space, and you need to have sensitivities to other people that are in the space with you.
Structure and mindfulness.
Being clear that you're not the only one in the space. So we have these individuals now becoming cops all over the country. So we have this officer who's telling this recruit, excuse me, round robin, I digress. Let me get back on that real quick
come back.
and finish that story up real quick. We check in with that Jade is like, yup, what happened? So the recruit is asking the senior officer, so what happens if we walk up to some black kids and they smoking marijuana, if they black shoot them? The senior officer's response was, if they black shoot them.
And then say you fear for your life.
But he didn't even give a backup conversation. It doesn't even matter.
But you didn't have to give it.
It doesn't even matter conversation.
That's the thing. You don't have to give it.
The officers, we've seen too many cases where the officers were not threatened. I see you, Sister Dominique, out there. Peace and blessings. I appreciate you coming in. Bless. Thank you guys checking in. I appreciate you. Join the conversation. Share the link.
Share the video and all that.
We've had the conversation around this. Cops are not offended. People of color are not showing up straight up disrespectful to police. We're just not. It's not in the psychosis. Remember? The psychosis is the slave mentality. The psychosis, the mechanism, technique, and method that is in the system is a well-behaved slave, because we've always been taught that if you be good, you'll be good. The master won't get upset with you. Nobody will be bothered by you. You'll please the master. You'll please the system. So to be having people of color running around here in large numbers just straight disrespecting police, that is not it. So when a 22-year-old youth is in a car wreck and comes and knocks on a white woman's door who's home with her baby, and then calls the police And then the police show up and shoot this child who happened to be like all-star at his university, who happened to have a car accident. So the very sight of this black child, 22 years old, my son is 21. So when I have people in my inbox telling me about what white people went through and the experiences that they've had, you know, that include them in the conversation, yeah, I respect that you've been on the front line. But here it is. This is near and dear to my heart. Because there are young men out here, there are fathers out here, there are sons out here being put down because of ignorant police officers. Because of the straight up ignorance in police officers. Because of the underlying hatred and racism that lives in the hearts of people underneath the blue uniform. Or whatever the police uniform is around the country. Brown in some states. Fruitville Station. Like, this is madness. This is madness.
Nothing on those stories they heard.
Like, I can't. It just gets me so amped up. Ron Small, we go to his sister's out here right now. Victoria, stand up. Bless. His sister is on the front line fighting for her brother. Exactly. They took this man from his children. They have taken this man from his children. And then this was a New York City off-duty officer. He wasn't even working. And even in his other life, outside of his uniform, he has no sense of grounding. You're not a human being. You don't know how to coexist in the world with other people. Alleging that Delron walked up to his car and caused him some fear.
Creating a story
that he feared for his life. Off duty, you are a person. You're everyday Joe. I was walking down the street one day going to the train station. And I saw 2 cops jump out of an unmarked car. They did not have their police chains hanging, their badges visible. The door flew open, and they just jumped out the car like they was about to bum rush somebody. If I was in that situation, I'm going to buck up. Because I'm like, what's happening? Because I don't know who these guys are. Right. One, they were fair-skinned. I couldn't really see their faces well enough because I didn't like go up in their faces. But I don't know, Spanish, Latino, maybe white, or maybe 2 white cops. I'm not even sure. You know, one had a little bit of a tan. But here it is, regardless. Who does that?
Right.
That is a straight up police state. Victoria says one of his children will never know him. She was this lady. The woman gave birth to this baby after he was already gone. Would never know her father. And the same thing happened to Sean Bell. His wife was pregnant and gave birth to this baby after he was deceased. After he transitioned. Unacceptable. And to this, like I said, those 2 particular cases are New York City cases. But nationally, those other cases, 84% of police precincts do not require nothing more than a high school diploma. And you give someone a gun that can kill someone without the ability to be sure that they are trained to reason circumstances. But you need an MSW to be a social worker, to push paper. Not that social work is not important. Not that community service is not important. We need people doing community service. I'm a community servant. But you need to have a master's degree to sit in a controlled environment with a person across the table from you. But you can have a high school diploma to carry a gun that kills people. And we are not clear that you have any ability to reason circumstances or mediate your own feelings.
And a degree in some form of understanding of psychology would serve them greatly around how to be with people and how to properly discern situations. It's not like they don't have that, because they deal with other peoples, where they know how to subdue a situation, subdue a crocodile, subdue a crazy man with a gun that's butt naked on the street, but can't seem to deal with a black man that is smoking marijuana on the street, or is in a car trying to being responsible around how they deal with their open carry license and showing you all types of identification.
Jay said anyone can perpetrate anti-blackness. Dominique said black or white approaching anyone is in that fashion that served as intimidation. Absolutely. Right, exactly. The officer in this case, I'm not even going to call his name, forget him. He doesn't even exist. He lied for a week after the officer drove erratically and Delron exited his vehicle and died. Angel says police officers use people of color as target practice and see no wrong with it because they are protected by their badges and brotherhood. Meanwhile, they dismantle ours. Exactly. Ashe. Victoria says, well, our melanin is a weapon, so they say, yet they are stealing it, so it's no coincidence that they are pretending we are a threat.
Every instance.
Right.
Deconstruct those in possession of it, take it, and then use it and
we want to be with this
for yourself.
We want to be with this conversation. We want to be in it. We want to be in it. We want to be in it because it's not going to stop happening if we don't be on the front line about this. I don't want to see fathers being taken from their children, right? And there was another article that I recently looked at also that says that African men of who have had a black cultural experience are home more often than men of a white cultural experience with their children. That they are. I don't know. They keep telling you that, oh, these black men don't want to be fathers. That is a lie.
I know so many.
Even if they don't, even though they're not millionaires, even though they don't have access to surplus income, they with their children and spending time. And then the system of foolishness is into these minds, and it creates this here within the communication with mom and dad. Friends don't let friends do dumb shit. But you create friction between these family members. Oh, he don't do this for you. He don't do that for you. He ain't giving you nothing to take him to court. See, this is what's happening in our community. This is what is manipulated. And I mean at every level. So don't get it twisted. I'm not talking about, oh, that's those people. No, it's every level in our community. It is happening. And it is dismantling the family structure. Okay? But these men are with their children. Okay? These men are loving on their kids. All right. So all of these methods and techniques and mechanisms to get them caught up with a criminal record at 17, 18, 20 years old, to play on their insecurity, to have them to diminish their spirit, right? To have them getting caught into a web of foul thinking, to be diminished, to not really pursue life in a way. All these things are methods, mechanisms, and techniques. So the bootstrap theory, black folks stop using it. Okay? I don't care which border you were dropped off at. If you've had a black cultural experience, stop using the bootstrap theory. It doesn't work. Because systemically, it doesn't work. I'm going to share another clip. I'm going to share another video in the group. The video around the bootstrap theory. The video, what's his name? Alvarez shared the video. The little cartoon. The cartoon that we looked at the other day. Stephen shared it with us. He tagged us on it.
Oh.
Yeah, we're going to share that one. You guys are going to like that one. Ashe Channel Slavery, yes ma'am.
I forgot what that was.
Friends don't let friends do dumb shit, Jade. Like,
remember the part of it?
Yeah, we're gonna share the clip with you guys.
Well, just talk about. You remember it?
What? Yeah, Brother Stephen, he tagged us in it. I can't go through all of the details. It was just really around, understanding economics and understanding our system structure. And understanding how it is that people develop wealth, and that majority of wealth is passed down, and that the reality that they keep telling you that you got to work hard to make a lot of money, that's not true. We just got to work together. You don't need to work hard to make a lot of money. You have to work together because they work together. They work together.
That's what the village was built upon. The village was built upon the idea of the barter system, so to speak. We work together in how we create. If one person has a tool, has a skill, that skill can be applied to support someone else who also has a skill. If you're a carpenter and I'm a cook, then you can help me build my house, and I can give you food and like all these different things, like these different pieces. You know how to make clothing, and I know how to to birth children, whatever that gets to look like. There's always a way that the village works together to create greater and nation build. Well, I just hold the idea of like really working hard. We support each other.
That's not true.
And we get to like really create together. There's no such independence is a fallacy. There's no
How
such
do y'all
thing.
remain spiritually strong while researching and tracking these issues? This is every day. We talk about this every day. We discuss these things every day as a part of our functional living every day because we woke. So we don't walk around in a fog. We don't walk around in a haze like people like, no, we see everything. We see it all the time.
And it's frustrating.
And it doesn't,
it can be frustrating.
It can be frustrating.
But you make a choice. Make a decision around what's your greater why around what this gets to be. What's understanding what your purpose gets to be and sharing the message and being the difference in the midst of that. let that be the light that guides you further, rather than being in the funk of the situation and the tragedy and the pain and the destruction that's taking place.
I mean, and my heart goes out to Victoria, because I mean, I can say that and that sounds all well and good for me because I haven't experienced the circumstance.
Right.
But Victoria, she made a video about 2 weeks ago, and she talked about this. You know, people in our community having the audacity to say that this woman, that she's attention grabbing, to say that, you know, she's trying to use this to capitalize. Who the hell wants to bury their brother so they can capitalize on attention? She's beautiful. She's gorgeous. She's a good-looking woman. I'm sure she gets plenty of attention walking down the street. Nobody wants to be on the receiving end talking about, my brother has transcended under the arm of police violence for attention.
And a broken justice system.
That's ridiculous.
For people
that is absolute absurdity. But that is what's happening in our community with our people out of what Dr. Joy DeGruy called vacant esteem. Because something is not working for you, you want to break something that's working for somebody else. Or steal from them. This girl got up here and she had to plead her heart out like, this is not a joke. I don't think this is fun. This is not happy time for me. I have to raise my niece and nephews. I have to tell them about how wonderful that their father was and how much he loved them. And he's not here to tell them themselves. I miss my brother. That is my best friend. He had every good word to me. He was my rock. He kept us strong. This girl is standing up here trying to plead her heart out. But guess what? Inside of her pain, she stay on the front line. She stay pushing the light of the law. She stay pushing it. What can she do? That is the fueling fire, but who wants to be on the receiving end? Why do we want to sit here and have conversations about a broken system that is trying to manipulate and put people to sleep with piecemeal? And then there's all of these different techniques, methods, and mechanisms where if you see them, you need to be a party to address them. And you need to be clear, and you need to be conscious, and you need to be aware of where these things are showing up and what you need to do to be with them. Let's talk about something else. Like I said, they don't work hard. They work together. They telling you to work hard. That's bull.
Right.
You don't need to work hard.
God forbid you create a space for that.
You don't need to work hard.
You create a space for making it make sense to work together.
You're not working hard.
Like that thing with the mayor. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like there was a recent report. Was it London Breed? I forgot the last name. London Breed, I believe her name is. Mayor of San Francisco, first black woman mayor of San Francisco. Right, came interim mayor late summer of 2017. Came interim mayor and was just recently ousted out of her position.
I see you, sis.
Ousted out of her position as a mayor because she was deemed as having too much power.
Too much power.
Too much power because she had too much power. She was in space to put
power
people
is influence.
Right, exactly.
Power to the system, method, technique, and mechanism is influence. If you have too much influence, they want to remove you from the front view.
And she was able to, because she had the position to put other people in positions and that were very valuable positions in the political system, that part of the government.
And that would have
that was too much.
She has
too much power, which was really the argument. Voted 5-4 to have her ousted out of her position. So she was recently
woman of color. That was a strategic plan.
Black woman.
That was a woman of color.
History making. First black mayor of San Francisco. First black woman mayor of San Francisco.
She was an interim mayor, and she would have become full-fledged mayor. But guess what? A round table of people who are not people of color, inside of their consciousness, voted her out of the position because they felt that she would make some changes that they would not be comfortable with. Because she had access. Because she had access to putting people in positions that would have them make changes that may support communities of color. You guys want to be thinking. You guys want to be clear about that because you know something. That happens more often than not. In these educational institutions, the higher you up, they say the wider it goes. Well, you know what? If you have an academic at the head of a department, then you will have a thriving African Studies department. Then you'll have things that are happening where you have youth and scholars being ignited in their purpose. And once you know your purpose, once you're not... See, there's a reason why reading will get you killed as a slave. There's a reason for that. If There was a reason why reading would get you killed. When you would get hung for reading.
Yeah.
Because see, once you know, you cannot be oppressed. Once you know too much, you'll ask too many questions. This conversation even came up in the article around police officers having less education. Because if you're working for the police department, the more education you have, the more questions you're going to ask. The more things you may request. The more morality, ethics you may want to bring into the place, because you have an ability to think for yourself and compare and develop concepts and a position that works.
And the smarter you'll be.
So that the more ignorant you are, the easier you are to hurt.
They don't like that.
Yeah. So, and this happens, like I said, more often than not. And this is not about having a conversation of whether people of color are capable. Because as I stated, education, the formal system, is not an indicator of intelligence in our community. Because we have an oral tradition. And we also have a moral respect, a fundamental practice of respecting those who had wisdom to give. So we put them on a landscape, on a pedestal, and we respected them and we uplifted them. And we knew what they had to give us. So we went to them for what they had to give us. And it didn't have anything to do with a doctoral degree. It had nothing to do with, all these accolades and titles and all these things. We don't need any of those things in our community to designate rank and role. Because all of our ranks and role and duties were purposeful and they were in contribution to the whole. So we don't need any of those things. So that's a psychosis that you want to take out and you want to sit that down. And you want to assess that as a technique, method, and mechanism. How does it help you get to where you need to get to? How does it help you do what you need to do? And how does it help you serve your community? Because if it's not doing that, get rid of it. Period. Technique, method, or mechanism. Whenever you're thinking about supporting the community and growing strength, you want to be thinking about what techniques, methods, and mechanisms can you use ethically, morally, to support the community and the unity. That's it.
Then that leaves a legacy.
That's
and
it.
A legacy for others to carry on and push forth.
That's it.
It helps communities to come. Period.
That's it. People, and that's not a difficult thing to conceive of. See, the problem is, I'm gonna tell you some keys to sword, guys. Here it is. You can't serve two masters. Can't serve two masters. See, that's the problem. See, none of us want to put our fork in a hard body street and stand for that. Because one, they told you that if you're standing for what is right and what is ethically correct, the system is not going to feed you. That's what they're telling you. They're telling you that if you don't play ball and continue to create more of the same, that you won't be able to be okay. I guarantee you'll be fine. You will be just fine. I guarantee you. If you learn right knowledge and right information, you step properly, you will be fine. Now, if you don't need a Bentley, then you should be better. See, but if you happen to be a person that needs a Bentley in their life, if you need a Bentley, you just got to have a Bentley. And there's nothing wrong with giving yourself nice things and having nice things. But if your fundamental value system is rooted in to having a Bentley, maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe you're going to have to serve two masters. Or maybe you're going to have to split your tongue or talk out the side of your neck like Grandma used to say. You're going to have to talk out the side of your neck while you whisper to your people, but your face is over here doing something else.
Sounds painful.
I'm just saying, where you at with it?
No, I think that speaks to like really quickly is like the whole idea around like supporting black entrepreneurship. The whole idea, like when you talk about that, when you say, oh, boycott this or boycott H&M or boycott this big Macy's, but what will I do about clothes? What will I do about food and water? Like the local stores. Hello, like come on, like just like small businesses, especially when you think about like black-owned businesses, like. I've literally seen the argument where black people are saying, black women, men, whatever, saying, well, I haven't found anybody that has what I want, whatever, as far as like, what if I need shoes, what if I need lotion? I'm like, what? You better go get you some butters. Stop playing. Like you don't know where that's at. Like you can get everything. Like
we should have all of us win. Ashe.
Like exactly, we should have all of us win. Like period. And it's not impossible. If you really look. You know, and it's crazy we have to build a directory, but there was one back in the day, directory where we can find every black-owned business that offered everything like that's, you know, culturally
And you know why you had to do that?
Enforcing for us
because you lived in a Jim Crow South.
Exactly. It was like
and you had it was a matter of survival. So let me explain to you the method, technique, and mechanism. The method, mechanism, and technique for desegregating was not to make things equal. Because that was long enough. If the social and national landscape was to be supportive of people of color and their progress due to segregation, because you can go to school with them, then you wouldn't still have professors to this day that are nasty towards their black and African American students and their students of color. You still have it. So although they desegregated, because people of color thought that was a good thing, that was a bad thing. That was a very, very bad thing because it wasn't the proper method, technique, or mechanism that would support community and unity. So that's what made it bad. Period. So, and now you're talking about 50 years later, and people of color are still specks in certain spaces and places after desegregation. You know why? Because that didn't benefit you. It benefited the structure. Because you know something? You have to run to somebody to get what you need, and you no longer have the ability to create it yourself.
Where are you running to? The structure.
You no longer have access to textiles. Unless you get with our people of color from other borders. If you can get with some more people of color from other borders, then you have access to some things. But see, unfortunately, people who have had an African or a black cultural experience here in America, you've been taught some things. My grandmother told me she ain't African because she ain't got bones in her hair and she not drinking monkey brains and all of this. See, this is what she told me. Because she watched TV and she listened to those people spit or that system diminish her cultural heritage.
Right. You want to be clear on who you're subscribing to giving you the message about you. Like
who's telling your story to you?
What are you choosing to move forward with? You know what I mean? And that's that thing. Like with the integration in that has led us. We're letting other people tell our stories and tell who we are about ourselves to the point where we're like believing it, and then we're
ingested it.
Ingested it and justifying it. Because that's the constant conditioning, traumatic conditioning, the programming that's taking place.
And we are the biggest, as Sister Victoria said, making our own oils. We're building up Black and Latino communities. Ashe, she said, speak that. It shows like ours, we are deconstructing the system. Africa is beautiful and rich. Ashe.
Okay, listen, let nobody tell you the lies of Africa.
Don't make nobody tell you their lies.
They wouldn't still be trying
and
to
let me tell you, the folks is running over there and getting all that land. They running up all of that land because China, you know something? That's like one of the one of the last places where the soil is still pristine in South America.
Yeah.
They are burning up everywhere else because they've been growing that sugarcane all over the world. They've been ripping up that soil. You know anything about agriculture? You cannot drain up the soil and nutrients like that. You have to let that soil rest. Africa is one of the few places that still has pristine, untouched soil. And it's South America. Two of them. Mm-hmm. We gotta, and in Africa, and I don't know what you can grow up there. But listen to me. We gotta get these people, they gotta keep their hands off of this land. Yeah. Because that's all that's left for the next generation. The recklessness and the consumption, the gluttony has drained and ripped the soil up. And this is why they have GMO foods. Because the soil cannot produce anymore. Because if you know about farming, you must rest your soil. You must rotate. 1, 2, 3, 4. Every crop, you must 1, 2, 3, rotate. 1, 2, 3, rotate. 1, 2, 3, rotate. And you keep skipping a portion of that land so that that land gets to rest. If you know about agriculture, you cannot keep ripping up that soil every single season.
That's definitely
right? But it's greed. And you know, people of color, we have gotten so comfortable with our identity. See, listen, as a minimalist, I've created a uniform for myself. I have few pieces of clothing. I have I have a wardrobe that is convertible. And I rotate out, and I don't see the need for nothing else. I don't.
I love my black jeans.
I don't see the need, and it's not because I can't. It's because I don't choose to. For what? so that I can get dressed for other women? Listen, I'll give my sister a hug if I need her to see me. If I need her to feel me, if I need her to check in with me, I'll walk up to her and give her a hug. I'll give my sister a crown. You looking beautiful. Blessings, my sister. I don't need to come up in here dressed up on performance mode for my sisters. It's not necessary. Because I'm being out of here with the intention to connect with you. Another key is to soar. People forget what you said. People forget what you did. But they'll never forget how you made them feel.
Victoria,
and that's the power. What's Victoria
says, hands off blacks and Latinos, hands off Africa. Yes, absolutely. Hands off. And there's a sister in the Bronx that teaches black people to grow food. Believe you're talking about Tanya Fields, Black Girl Project. Yes.
Yep, we got her. That's our sister. Yes. She's on deck.
Definitely aware of that. Don't let anybody call you a hotepper either. I can't stand the hotep thing. Like, really, it's like, you know. And it's a way, and it's something we've created. I don't know.
It really is something that we and our
ignorance. I ain't hear no white person talking about like, oh, hotep. Like,
but you know why?
What is hotep exactly?
Hotep actually means peace. It's like a greeting.
Okay. It's a greeting.
It's supposed to be a greeting, but somehow it's been turned into this term, a derogatory term towards Afrocentric people that still have this, I suppose, this mindset that's very oppressive to women and like. And into the the gay and lesbian community and all these different things, like still has these things that are kind of skewed around how they see the rest of people in the entire landscape.
Well, there's a lot of people, the quote unquote hotepper. If you want to talk, the hotepper is like an adjective.
Okay.
Right. A hotepper represents this kind of, like you said, this kind of presentation and this type of rhetoric.
But it's actually still oppressive.
But it's still oppressive. And people of color created it.
White supremacists.
People of color created it. And
because we need to define everything and categorize everything.
Right. And that comes out of the system. Right? That thinking and that need to do that comes is a part of our fundamental thinking, because we're all like reformed. We're pursuing being reformed white supremacists. Right? Breaking out of the system structure, breaking out of the matrix. And we're all trying to get to Zion. If you would, with the Matrix references. We're all trying to get to Zion, where the party would be. If all those conscious people were awake, a couple of inches from, miles from the center of the earth, but the earth is still warm, we'd all be trying to get to Zion, right? Which is a place where you unlock your mind, right? So we're all breaking free of the Matrix. So creating this whole reality of hotepper and those people, first of all, I'm with all forms of knowledge, okay? I understand all forms of knowledge, and I've actually been in spaces and places where I've wanted to learn and been a party myself. But there are still so many missing pieces, right? So the quote-unquote hotepper, he doesn't have a full landscape.
Okay.
There are other mechanisms inside the space that don't have a full landscape. I don't want to start like cataloging people, because I don't want to start pulling people out and like breaking them, making them feel some kind of way.
It's segmented, because it's like there shouldn't be any need to just want to have to categorize someone and then use a term of peace and turn it into a derogatory place. Like, I'm all for you're an ignorant asshole. I'm all for you're being an oppressive black man or oppressive person, whatever the case may be, whatever other terminology. But like, don't skew what holds power in our symbolism and in our culture and our history to diminish
and then you don't want to call yourself a white supremacist.
Right, and exactly, but don't want to call yourself a white supremacist. When you do essentially something similar, they may not do outright, but in a way, what the influence of white supremacy has done has created this mindset where you get to call your fellow man this thing that's like shuts down and totally deconstructs terms of peace. It's supposed to be hotep, kings, queens, whatever the case may be, peace and blessings unto you, all these different things, like namaste, all these different pieces to it. What's the other term I heard? Ankh right. Like using really the ankh and saying ankh right is another term. So if you don't like hotep, we use ankh right. It's still bad because the ankh is a symbol of life. What are you talking about? And we keep let's not choose to accept being with taking powerful imagery and diluting it with social media bullshit and ignorance.
But that's really a part of that's our segment of our community. And let me be clear, it's not all about people who have high school diplomas. There are some individuals who are higher up in the on the scholarly chain that are talking like this about other people of color. Yeah. I'm here to tell you, development and breaking away from the matrix is not a destination, it is a journey. Mm-hmm. Okay? So coming through the hoteppers, or coming through the Israelites, or coming through Islam, or coming through whatever direction you're coming from, the journey to peace are many. but peace is one. Truth is one. There are many ways to arrive there. So you want to be graceful with your developmental process, and you want to be clear that, you know, I never, even when I was as an Israelite, when I lived in the Israelite community for several years, I never felt okay with the way that the Israelite community treats people of color up in Harlem. And how they are diminishing and hard. Now, granted, according to the biblical scripture, it says that we are stiff-necked people. In other words, like Grandma would say, y'all hard-headed. And that is true. But then again, so is everybody. Right? Hard-headed meaning you refuse to employ the proper technique, method, or mechanism to create your best possibility, to create your best self-preservation. We're not. We're just not ready to be committed to that. Because in so many areas, including my Buddhist journey, requires a certain degree of discipline, self-discipline. See, the 42 laws of Ma'at, the 10 commandments were taken from the 42 laws of Ma'at. So the whole Tepper conversation, right, Christianity is a diluted version of Kemetic science, right? You don't have to agree with it, especially if you're Christian. You don't have to agree with it, it's fine. But do your research, right? Do your research, because I'm not here to argue points. I'm not here for semantics.
It's a beautiful part of information.
I'm here to develop the space and move from A to Z, like, expeditiously. I don't have time for back and forth. I'm not getting ready to get into that. You can keep all of that. You and the rest of those guys, they can all have their debates and all that there. We're just not creating anything that moves to peace. That moves people. It allows people to hold their position and be committed to it. And it's not the mechanism nor technique or method that's going to get us into unity and community. Self-governance and independence. It's not. It's just a bunch of people that get to stroke their own egos about how much research they've done.
Right.
And yet, you're not even finished. If you're still working with a little bit of piece of this right here, you're still not even done. You're not even close to done. So, that's where I'm at with that. So, I'm not getting to that. So, what we can do is we can move into a space where we are willing to be committed to using the proper method, techniques, and mechanisms to get us from point A to point B. And be happy and expeditious about breaking away from the matrix. Be happy about it. Because the deeper you are in the matrix, the more in chains you are. Mm-hmm. The harder it will be for you to feel your vibration. The harder it is for you to be able to hear your intuition. The harder it will be for you to connect with the God in you. The harder it will be for you to find freedom and legacy for your family and community. So if anything is not working to create that, then get rid of it. Yeah. Expeditiously. And in our community, we pick on each other. We ostracize each other. We hurt each other. We talk bad about each other. We pick on each other. I've gone through it all. I've gone through it all. Like, I'm ironically looking at my life landscape, and I'm looking back at this piece, as I've created myself. And I'm like, I've always been on par for this. Because this didn't start yesterday. This is a progressive journey since 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old of self-awareness. Self-awareness and mindfulness didn't start yesterday. I've always been this person. And I've always been developing and questioning and asking and understanding, well, if everybody is the same, then why isn't everybody the same?
Right.
If everybody's the same, then why come when the black professor who's the head of this department gets the position, why can't she work from home 4 days a week like the other lady down the hall? Mm-hmm. Why can't she give birth to her baby and bring her baby to work with her? Mm-hmm. Why doesn't she get the $300,000 salary if they're trying to pay her $120,000? When the rest of them down the hall is getting $325,000. Why is that? Because she's brown? If everybody's the same, then why aren't they the same? Right? Because I promise you, the method, technique, and mechanism of somebody else or some other circumstance is happy with all this back and this that you guys are doing. It is supporting somebody else's well-being. It is supporting somebody else's elevation and their history and their legacy and creating abundance in their community. It's helping them. The more you do this, the more you assimilate, the more you negatively diminish people of color, it's supporting them.
And it takes the heat off of them.
And you can't put the finger like and say, you did this. You did that. Because nobody wants to actually sit there and say, you know what, I'm a bad person because I'm running around here creating medications that kill people.
And no one wants to be with that reality of what they're doing.
I'm a scientist and I make medication that kills people. I work for the government and I run around here and kill people under the guise of national security. For what? There was no need for national security. there were tribal wars. There's always been tribal wars. There's always been tribal wars. Why? Because people refuse to work in harmony. And prior to tribal wars, people just shared. That's it. We shook hands, and I'm going to stay over here. You stay over here because of the resources. Your people need this. Our people need that. Well, guess what? Your people don't have access to what we have over here. So we're going to bring you some, and we're going to meet right here, and I'm going to give you some, and you give us some of what you got, and we're going to go our separate ways and keep it going. Because as tribes, we're going to create our own little way of doing things, and we're going to keep doing it that way. You guys do your own little way of doing things, and y'all going to do it that way. And that was that. It wasn't a need for guns and tanks and bombs. There was no need for these things. And to this day, there are still no need for those things. Everything around that is an illusion. The people that are telling you that there's a need for that, there's a need for national security. There's no need for national security. We want to increase our footprint. In order for you to increase your footprint, you got to go take something that belongs to somebody else. Why don't you be content with what you have? Why don't you make friends with other people and barter with other people? Why do you feel the need to have to go take somebody else's stuff? See, that's why there's a problem. And they beat you in the head with that. And they send out people into the military to go fight under a flag that is a lie, and everything about it is a lie.
What did the guy say we met on the train about the Navy?
Never volunteer yourself. Never something
volunteer yourself. There's got to be men on the train.
He said what the Navy stands for. Never Navy. Never something. I can't remember what the A stands for.
Yeah.
Never something volunteer yourself.
Yeah. But yeah, there's this. You don't want to look at the regret or the remorse around the decision that you think you're fighting for one thing. If you think you're doing something for one purpose,
That's
really
it's for bad. It's literally Battleship. If you never played the game Battleship, play the game Battleship. I want you to really be with that. Play the game Battleship. And find out that you are in one of those boats on the board. You are not the puppet master. Play the game. Play the game. And those are real people, real lives, real families that are impacted by what is happening on that board. Mm-hmm. Play Battleship. And some grown people around tables somewhere think that's cool. They think that's all right. Because you know what? It's an asset. You as an old soldier, you're an asset. But you are also collateral damage.
Mm. And if something happens, they can never speak your name again, and they'll do so.
You're an asset to support the system until you can, or till you don't. And then you are just collateral damage. They will scribe your name somewhere on a brick wall or a marble case somewhere, and that'll be cute. And send your mama a flag. Oh Lord, that's crazy. That's madness. I'm over this. I'm done. All right, we're gonna move on to the health. I can't. I just can't right now.
And now health.
I can't right now. Right. And now staying alive so you can fight the good fight.
Right. Exactly.
So we are still 85% raw vegan, guys.
Okay.
Yay! And I have went from a 22 to an 18 today, guys. Oh! I'm shrinking. I'm shrinking. I'm shrinking. I'm shrinking. I'm shrinking. I'm shrinking.
I guess I'm shrinking.
Yes! A serious shrinking, guys.
I guess that's so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been working this diet. It's been what? Since January 9th. I can't count the days at the moment. But it's January 9th. Some odd amount of days so far that we've been working with meatless eating, plant-based
and live
eating.
Plant-based, vegan, 85%
for the most part.
You
know, we say that, just some things you get a little roast on here and there, but it's mostly
the roasted, the Brussels sprouts.
Brussels sprouts and pumpkins, and we'll throw some spinach up in the wok and make it happen. But really we've been being intentional, more intentional than we've been in a while. Or at least I know that I've been. I know enough Rod's done this journey before.
Yes.
In her life, but this is about the most intentional I've been in my eating, in ever. So. In ever. I remember I tried vegetarian years ago. I tried it for a week. There was a tahini spot that opened up on what was that? Near Astor Place. I was like, maybe I can eat this for a week. I'll be all right. Maybe I can do this falafel thing. No. I had chicken after after 1 week. I was like,
it's all in your mind.
It's all in your mind.
And it literally is a mechanism. It's all in your mind.
Yeah. But now this has been like a very intentional journey. And it's also a consciousness thing. It's all in your mind. It's really just choices around what you want to make, what you want to have different about your body, what you want to have different about your consciousness. Because what you create in your body is what is created in your mind and what's created in your consciousness and in your soul and everything. It's all connected, like I mentioned last week. It's all connected around it's all connected. How you treat yourself, what you put in your body ends up what comes out of your mouth, what comes out of your mind, your thoughts, your consciousness, how you move and elevate through your life. Conversations become different. Understanding yourself becomes different. Like you see yourself in a different light. You know what I mean? And you level up. You level up.
Yeah.
You level up. So you level up your energy. Like I was mentioning last week, like my energy skyrocketed, I don't get before
fatigued.
I would wake up and it's like I want to hit that snooze button so bad, but I was like, I can't hit the snooze button. But God, I'm like so groggy right now. I'm so tired. Now it's like really like I get up and it's like I'm up. I'm up, eyes wide, ready to do what I got to do for whatever the day is and whatnot.
What are y'all doing about that? Should we do the same? Doing what about what's Jay?
China,
what do you mean?
Right here. China banned trap music and negative hip hop.
Listen, I'm alright with that. I agree. I'm 100% with that because I don't feel that trap music. It doesn't add anything to the space. Remember, technique, method, or mechanism. Technique, method, or mechanism. If it doesn't support, then it doesn't work. Right. I'm done with it. I don't see what trap music does. It doesn't help. It doesn't infuse in any way. It doesn't support. We can do away with it. I'm good with that. I'm good with that.
I'm okay with it.
I'm totally right.
I'm all for party music.
Yeah.
I'm all for party music. I'm all for having fun.
Yeah.
But the trap music stuff, that's like...
Yeah, I don't see how that helps.
It's a blatant sellout to the culture. These kids, like, granted, people have said, like, that back in the day was the drug dealer music, and now these kids are doing drug user music. And so I get it. But
who was producing it?
It's still responsibility.
And who was distributing it?
It's still
somebody was producing it. Someone was distributing it.
Someone's behind it.
If it was no good, it would have never done. It would have never gone anywhere. There's lots of music that is in the space. That's not the only type of music that could have been platformed as mainstream music. That to me is foolishness music, and it dumbs down your senses.
Yeah. And you can literally feel it. Like,
you can feel the vibration. If you clear your mind and you're able to hear and speak and be with the space, you will. This is like low functioning.
It changes your mood.
It's folks. I'm like, what are they talking about?
Only do it.
Not even full words and full sentences. And I'm like, I'm not standing for that coming from intellectual people, coming from support of a community of humanity. I'm not right with that.
No.
That is not going to demonstrate our highest possibility as humanity. This is kind of foolishness. And it's a reason, like I said, those kinds of methods, techniques, and mechanisms support someone and something. And takes you off the mark. And takes you off focus. And takes you outside of yourself. There's a thing that's being done. Yeah. Jump in there.
As a DJ,
difficult
about this. I intentionally do not like to play trap music during my sets because I am aware of the type of environment that I want to create. And trap music is not.
It's not conducive.
It does not. Yeah. And I see the appeal, but it's not what I resonate with.
Yeah.
When I DJ, I'm creating a space to bring people to a higher space.
Yes.
And to really bring them into love, into their higher self and higher possibility. And trap music does not create that.
So how do you? But I want to ask you, how do you stay committed to that as an artist? Like you said, it does have its appeal, but
look, it's hard. I'm not saying I've never played it. I definitely have, because there have been times where I've been at a club or whatever and played there, and people want to hear it. So it's like, all right, sometimes you gotta,
right,
exactly.
Yeah.
They ask right.
But to stay committed to that, really showing people how they can have fun without, that kind of music. You know, it's just like you can have fun without getting drunk.
Right.
It's the same kind of thing, and that's how I feel about it. So that's why I usually go towards like dance music, fun music,
Yeah.
music with messages.
Yeah.
Right.
Especially messages of love, because that's really what I stand for.
Absolutely. Yeah, and even instrumentals
Yeah.
and things like that. Because
Yeah,
really,
exactly.
when you look at trap music, really the whole idea around it is the bounce.
Yeah.
That's all it is, the vibrations. People is like, you know, we say like we transcended, you know, back in the day it was about lyrics, and it was about, you know, like it was the message, it was the lyrics, it was the gangster, and that now more so, there was a party in the South getting crunk, and now it's just about the vibrations. So it doesn't really matter, lyrics don't matter as much anymore, and that's been something that's been expressed by some pretty prominent or like, you know, hip hop artists or what have you, artists of the
they've heard
culture.
it to people.
And like, yeah, and it's like, and sometimes I wonder, is like, are they just placating to people, or do they really feel this?
Absolutely.
Like, always, you know, it's vibrations, it's a new vibe and evolution. I'm like, I get evolution, but evolution.
So
not
what?
like, you know, like
Evolve,
there's a
like
regression
evolution,
in a
but
sense.
evolve.
Because you're regressing because now you're taking the words out. You know, there was an
just
evolution
sounds
when there
now.
was music. It was music, and someone was like, "Oh, what if I rapped on it? What if I said something on this? What if I said something and rhyme on it?" And that's what it built up. So if we're going back to a place where lyrics don't matter anymore, then yeah, we're regressing because now you're taking the words away, and it doesn't matter. Then there's just be beats. Then you're back to the beats. Then we're gonna go back to what
We'll
Beethoven.
talk about that town
That's cool,
hall
I guess.
day.
You
We'll
know,
talk
but
about
like,
that.
what is that?
We'll
What is
talk
that
about
word?
that town hall
In
day.
the scheme of evolution, how does that really work? That's a regressive trait, and it's being pushed, and everyone, and for some reason, you even have prominent artists that are like, you know, it's cool to keep doing their thing, you know what I'm saying? You let them rock. Yeah, I hear you, but right now, it's like you want to be in the stance of responsibility around what you created in your hip-hop tenure, and how that gets to live on in a legacy where it gets greater, not regressing. It gets greater, whether it's like it's the culmination of your marriage of doper lyrics as a melody aspect to the beat, where you just like really marry, it's all one. But like to sit here and advocate for like drug user regularly lyrics,
well, and then it becomes that whole misogyny thing
and all this type of stuff that doesn't work.
And then it's also, some of it is women doing these things as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
they also feel like they gotta like
compete.
Well, that's because they bought into this. They bought into the structure. That's because they've already been herded, and this is what happens with most of us. And as I myself in reform, I'm clear 20 years ago what my mind was and how I was thinking. We're all in reform. So what happens is there's already been a path set up that says if you go this direction, if you have this behavior, if you look like this, you say this, you do that, that's what will get you the accolades. You know, they go and they find, you know, and oftentimes what happens, especially in we gotta take responsibility, Ashe. What generally happens is, you know, and we just want the quick lick. We're just looking for the quick lick. We want to stick and move. Mind you, we diminish ourselves. It's interesting when you look at the entertainment landscape. They go find all of the strippers. Not that exotic dancers don't matter too, because exotic dancers matter too, right? They go find all of the ex-drug dealers. All of the ex-drug users, all of the thieves, all of the ex-convicts, they go find those people. And you know what that really says to me? You know, you're not really going to find people who, you know, who have a clean reputation in the industry. They got to find dirt on you. They have to make sure that you are thoroughly manipulated and used by the system. Facts! Because that's what makes the structure comfortable. If you're trying to be upstander, that doesn't really work with the system because there's some trifling things that happen in the system. And you have to be willing to be complacent with those things because those things are feeding people.
Yeah.
There are people that are living. The war on drugs was literally an entire round table of people who were having a white cultural experience who said that they wanted to raise money for the Contra-Iran wars. So what we're going to do is we're going to pump drugs into communities of color because they are collateral damage. Don't nobody care about them no way. They are overrun anyway. They're welfare queens anyway. They're uneducated anyway. They're high school dropouts anyway. They're fatherless homes. They're going to prison. Let's make them useful to the system.
All that we created.
Let's
anyway.
give them drugs.
All that we created.
All that we by design.
But that's point.
And this is a conversation to have. for everybody present. And I mean, look at the. I want us to see the full landscape. I don't want to see a piece of it. I want to see the part that people who have had a white cultural experience, and the parts that they've played in this landscape, and the parts that they play to continue this consciousness, and the people of color, what parts that they've played, and the parts that they've also played as victims, and not being responsible with their actions and choices. I want everybody to see what's happening. I want a panoramic view. I want 360 degrees. Okay? So that we get clear. Because the war on drugs, we are 2 generations outside of the crack era right now. And this is why our children are rapping and loving this music that has no vibration. Because there's things missing from our kids today. The crack era, 25 years of the lesser food quality, because as soon as those things came out of the lab, they put them right on the market. As soon as they created that food, they grew those foods in petri dishes, they put it on the market immediately. There was no test on them. There was no test. There was no test on the microwave ovens. They built it, then they started mass producing them. Period. Nobody knew that mass producing microwaves at small radiation levels were going to cause cancers in women. Nobody talked about that. And those industries are not taking responsibility for poisoning the American population. Nobody is taking responsibility for that. They're telling you that shots and immunizations. This is the health watch. We're still talking about the health watch, guys. And we've kind of segued into, are we being responsible?
Yeah. And I think, like, even going back to, like, the music really quick, like, you know, I was doing the whole mentorship thing last week. Was it last week? It was 2 weeks ago. Dealing with these youth, like, the shout out to the Grammy Museum and Grammy Recording Academy for this opportunity. But it was really, talking to these kids, we can't sit here and be like, oh, we're doing this stuff because this is what the kids want. This is what the kids like.
Lies.
This is what lies.
What the kids need.
Exactly, and the kids need. And the thing is that these kids I talked to
they
about
actually want things.
I talked to about a good maybe 10 kids. It was like a speed dating type of situation where speed mentoring, and these kids was like on point with it. Like, oh, I listen to it. Like, I listen to Nas. I listen to the XYZ.
Yeah.
I don't like music that doesn't have any meaning to it. Or it doesn't have any lyrics I can feel, things like that. So all that you trying to make stuff for the music for the kids. This is the music the kids want. Is bullshit because the kids don't want that.
Yeah.
The kids actually can't stand it. There may be select kids that may subscribe to that, but like those kids, but also could be kids of circumstance. That this is what they may personally know. But that's not to say that this is what you should be feeding into their community and feeding into their minds. There be an opportunity to uplift them and put them in the space of a higher consciousness, understanding of their worth, their mattering, and how they get to enjoy music a way that empowers them, in a way that uplifts them, and they can have fun with the music, and they can write about some stuff too that deals with them. Like, it's not like, and this is what this is the BS that we're fed. Like, this is what kids want. This is what the streets want. This is what the streets need uplift. The streets, exactly.
This is what they said, but
the streets don't need destruction. No. The streets have seen destruction. The streets don't need any more fucking destruction. The streets need uplift. The street needs a revamp.
But what mechanism technique would be that?
The streets need Wakanda upgrades. All right, that's what the streets need.
What would be the technique with that?
New tech.
What would that create?
Black Wall Street.
That would create empowerment.
We need new things.
That would create independence. That would create a sense of self-governance and responsibility and morality and commitment to something outside of just myself. That's what that would create. That doesn't work for the system.
Adults like this kind
Those attributes do not work to create the end that we are seeing now. See, those things will contribute to harmony, peace, unity, community, self-governance, and independence, love. That's what will come out of that. So anything that you see in the space that's not creating that is not about love. And I'm not about to placate because you know what? We're in an urgent situation. Mm-hmm. We are in the 13th hour. We are past time. We are late. It is urgent. The youth, we have laid too many to rest behind this ignorance. All of those families, those ex-drug dealers that are in the music industry, there are families that were, put in prison. There were family members that were killed. HIV was out there running rampant because of drug use, because of shooting up needles, because of prostitution. We are in the 11th hour, and I'm not taking no prisoners with this. I don't care if you like it. You don't have to like it. I stand for a world that is inclusive, spiritually connected, inclusive, living in love, joy, harmony, and abundance now.
Yeah.
What happened?
No.
I don't know. I think something happened, guys. Let's see.
Is your phone connected?
I have no clue.
Since we're zooming, all of a sudden something happened.
No, is it connected to the charger?
Oh.
It's not connected to the charger, but I think it ended my video. This video has ended, yes. It ended my video.
Okay.
So that's fine.
We still here.
We're still here.
Soundbytes page.
We got about another half. What's up?
We got like.
Ay, Dios.
Ay, Dios mío.
Right? That's my favorite one. Okay, so I'm just trying to get back on live. I'm trying to get back on the live, guys. Yeah. So we had some technical difficulties over there.
Yeah.
Apparently, it just cut out my video.
Yeah. But even Jay mentioned on the last video, shouts out to Tech. Jay mentioned on the last video, like, you know, adults subscribe to a lot of stuff too, and yeah, that's a thing. But is it like, are these children subscribed to feel like they're fitting in with children, or do they just not know any better? Yeah, we back. We don't know what happened.
We don't know what happened, but we back. We back.
I feel like a lot of people know
guys.
better, but they're choosing to not.
Yeah. And that's the worst part about it, is because when you look at adults versus children, youth, teenagers, like, you have hopefully had more experiences in life than younger people, as in you now become a conduit, hopefully, to provide more guidance to them, to provide more information for them and more knowledge for them to be understanding. Well, you might be pressing something. Hold on. Resume. Press something. Okay.
I'm not touching nothing. I'm not touching nothing, Jay.
These things right here that you can't see them, but they clear stuff.
I'm not touching nothing, Jay. I didn't touch it before. It just went on by itself. You saw that.
You know.
We got tech guys. You need to get our tech guys. So we'll have us an intern sooner or later.
Okay, intern. But yeah, like, you know, it's a responsibility. Like, as adults, we got to be more responsible as being not only the, like, not so necessarily gatekeepers, but we get to move it forward. You know what I mean? We get to move whatever knowledge and pay it forward to the next generation.
Be the example.
Don't be the example. Don't try to act like them. That doesn't work. Oh. Kids have their friends already. They have their friends. Like, let's say you can't be friendly to your children or friendly to children, but they need adults for a reason. They need older generations for a reason, as a means to see, like, where have you been, where can I go, and what information can you give me to be on the best route.
That's right.
Period.
Mentorship and support. She said we just need to stop making excuses as adults and setting a bad example for the youth. Yeah. Myself included. I'm just over the bullshit.
Yeah, it's responsible. Like
I'm over it.
And I think that's important, is accepting it. When you say yourself too, like, yeah, we all have our things where, you know, we can be more responsible with how we are in the world. You know what I mean? But it's being mindful of that. People aren't willing to even be with the conversation around being responsible for the shit that they do. Oh, I don't do that.
No. They don't want to be responsible because they don't want to see them. I'm not a bad person. I'm a good person.
Yeah, you are.
I'm a great person.
Not all the time.
I don't hurt people. I contribute to. I give my check to charity. I donate my time.
Look,
really?
Nobody's perfect. Nobody's sane.
Yeah.
Like, and there's no beat up around it. Like, it's just recognizing it, being aware of it, right? And then moving forward in how you can be better.
Yeah, make some choices.
Yeah.
And then we have to hold ourselves accountable.
Exactly.
Because I often talk about
ourselves and each other.
I often talk about people who have had a white cultural experience. And let me tell you something, being a person of color, trying to be of a moral standing and of right knowledge and a standing of upstander, I'm here to tell you it was a challenge. I can't even imagine what the challenge is going to be like to be in a space with people who have had a white cultural experience who have not been having this conversation ever. And even in spaces where they have been having this conversation, it's still limited on so many levels. It's still limited. because the diabolical nature of talking about your government under the American flag imported crack, cocaine, fed it into communities of color so that they would then diminish themselves. And other cultures have done that with opium as well. Yeah. So then what do you look to? What do you look to when people who have had a white cultural experience are very strong with being patriotic? So what is that going to create for them? Right? What does that create for them? For them to have to come to this realization. Right? You know, and it's a thing. It's a thing. And so hear me when I tell you that they're not running excited, stark raving mad trying to come in the door with this. They're not coming in with this. So the conversation that they are able to have while they negotiate and reconcile their own self-worthiness and their own self-responsibility is very mild. When I'm telling you it's very mild, it's not, it doesn't have the same vigor. I've seen some. Now I know some personally that have power and they are a stand for it and they don't tolerate it. But a large majority, as people who have had a white cultural experience based on the way that they've moved the census now, and so many different people can now check the box, European or, you know, right, Caucasian on the box. So technically by the census, they represent 62% of the American population. So you guys are going to need to get on board with having a real truth and authentic conversation. So that you can hurry up and make this happen, because if you don't, you are in for demise. Facts. It's going to happen. Because every quote-unquote great empire, I wouldn't call this empire great. I wouldn't. No. I wouldn't call this great by the least. This to me, I would call it shameful. I would call it shameful.
Every empire has its ebb and flow of rule.
But it will soon end. And it doesn't have to end badly. And it doesn't have to end badly. It doesn't have to take a lot of people with you. Because what pisses me off is the collateral damage. Ignorance is very expensive. Ignorance is very expensive. And I don't want none of mine's going out for the ignorance of nobody else's. While you working through your learning curve.
Right. Right. While you trying to figure your shit out.
While you trying to figure your shit out. I don't want to see young black men over here in army and wars laying and mangled and can't come home to their wives and children and families. I'm not alright with that. I'm not alright with that. I'm not alright with that.
That's why it's important for us to get our shit together. Yeah. And really and it starts with ourselves. And holding the space of love, of harmony, and peace, spreading that, and then which enrolls other people in that. Yeah. And then really it just keeps on going from there.
Yeah. Well, you know exactly. Something? That is true to a degree. It's true to a degree because I have been having this conversation in love and support, but I've had people in my inbox telling me that I'm racist and that I'm spewing hate talk.
Listen.
Why? Because just to be having the conversation for people who have had a white cultural experience, this conversation in and of itself is offensive. Just to be talking about it. Because it's a reality that they have never been confronted with.
Yes.
And no one wants to see themselves as being a party to a group of people that would do something like this. Who would? But how do you deal with it? How do you deal with it? I don't know what's happening.
How do you deal with the people in your inbox saying that you're
how do you deal with, is it fixed? You want to check the cord? How do you deal with the situation of being a party to this experience? You're a part of this cultural group that would feed crack cocaine to communities of color and then turn around and blame the victim.
Good.
Yeah. That's...
It's a cultural group, right?
It is.
But then again, then we want to split it down and say 99% versus the 1%. Because it was technically the 1% that actually was at the round table that made these calls. Yeah. Right? We get this. And what we also get that is people, it's professors standing in front of classrooms diminishing and trying to break the spirit of African American children and Latino children in the classroom when they're trying to grapple their way out of a hole. It's those professors who have had white cultural experiences, and then also professors who have had other cultural experiences who then come into the American space and work in the American system and then make themselves a party to diminishing other people of color who are trying to grapple their way out of their circumstances. They're not lending to support. They are literally making themselves deliberately, which means they're going outside of themselves. Like, you know, you got to be twice as good to be just good enough. That's a lie. Because I've been in this space where people who have had white culture experience are not even good enough. But because they have privilege, they get the pass. They're not even that good at their jobs. They're not even that good at understanding protocol in the circumstance. But they get the leg up because of privilege.
I remember there was.
You know what I'm saying? This is a real fact and reality. Yeah. And because you have a group and because you have a space where there's a lot of you, because that's what it is. You got backup. People of color haven't understood providing cover for one another. Yeah. Them folks provide cover for one another. When you're a cop and you kill an unarmed black man, you go to prison and a jury of your peers don't convict you for killing a human being, that's cover.
Yeah.
That is a real strong sense of cognitive dissonance. That's facts. You have 12 people, a jury of your peers, that would not convict you for killing a black man. That's some serious Kool-Aid. Serious. And I have to address that. That can't be placated. That consciousness cannot be placated. It must be dealt with straight up, head on, and we don't have to deal with it.
Yeah. Keep speaking about it, telling the truth.
I have a kid. I have children. I have lots of people in this world that I love and care for. I'm not willing to say goodbye to any of them based on your learning curve. I'm not. Yeah. So the reality of it is people of color know what's wrong. A lot of us just not willing to be disciplined enough to fix what's wrong. Because they've been told that in order to do it, you got to do this and that and that and the third, and you got to be this and this and that. You got to say this and look like that in order to come out. Okay. That's what they do. So they succumb because they're not willing to get on the other side. They want to quote unquote be with the winning team. There's something about that psychosis, and I cannot be placating that. I have to deal with it. I have to talk about that straight up and up front. And it's not a beat up. It's a learning curve. But get on your journey. Like, be on your journey. Especially when you're raising sons out here in this world.
Sure. Yeah, the responsibility for us is to open up that conversation, right? Yeah. Because people can choose to ignore it. They can choose to say, oh my gosh, you're racist. But at the end of the day, it's like, okay, at least we are, opening up that conversation. Yeah. And then the more we keep talking about it, I guess all we can do is, like, I don't know.
Hope it spreads like wildfire.
Exactly.
That's
it will.
Jay said, I was offered to take a class to become a certified opioid overdose responder. The government is paying to show people how to use the needle and resuscitate these back to life. Go figure. But when the crack epidemic was happening, though, there was no mercy and no support. The mechanism, technique, and method. Poisoning communities is a few things. People don't want to, all conspiracy theory. See, they have certain cues that when you hear certain things, automatically you respond to them in a certain way because you've already been programmed. You need to do the research on Pavlov. P-A-V-L-O-V. Pavlov. And you want to understand that when you hear certain cues on TV, in advertising, in music,
immediately cues up a reaction.
It immediately cues up a reaction. So as soon as I start telling you that when they feed drugs to communities, it's about population control. It's about, they were raising money, but why raise money when you are the end all and be all of money? You don't need to poison communities to create money. You can just go print some more. Obama did it. All of the presidents do it. All you got to do is sign an executive order and they go print up some more fiat money. So why put it in a place with people to harm them? Prison. The prison system was busting off the seams. Foster home, the foster system, all of these children and babies, all of these bodies laying in the street from turf wars. All of these things are the residuals of the round table. And then they take these same people and give them platform in the entertainment industry. And show you how they can wear fine clothes and they can cross the screen every time you turn around and be in movies. So that guess what happens in your mind? You think that if you do the same thing, this is what you can get. It's a natural response. It is a subtle way of garnering your support. And
beautiful people are at the top.
The beautiful people who've been feeding drugs to their families, who sold crack to pregnant women. This baby was born drug addicted. Because we were doing that. There were people who were doing that. There were people who were doing that. That didn't happen by accident. So there was no need to actually do that when we could just print more money. But we need to support the illusion of the system and continuity in the system. By saying that we'll do this, give those, they will produce the money, we will collect the money, and who went to jail for this? Who went to jail? They were rapping about this back in the day, KRS-One. Nobody had no coke plants. Nobody had no processing plants. Nobody had those ships. Nobody had access to no ports. Only people who have had a white cultural experience and others would have access to being able to move the degree of cocaine that was coming into this country. It was governmentally supported and sanctioned. Who would do such a thing? And who would do such a thing? All so that we could take the money and transfer it from one hand to another when all we needed to do was just go print more money. But we were willing, inside of our irresponsibility as humanity, we were willing to allow this. Look, this is not charging. See, the light's not on. Something is happening down here. Check on that. Something is happening. It's not charging.
Okay. Conspiracy theory. Okay.
Huh? Guys, we're having a little technical circumstance over here. The Full of Cash Facebook Live page is off right now. So you can check in with us on Soundbytes Live, Soundbytes International Live, and we can check out on WVMRradio.net. Al, streaming live.
Hey!
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, yeah, we're here to keep the conversation going always. But that's where it starts. You know, people aren't talking about it, and there's no topic. You know, and until we understand that there's a topic of issue, nothing will change. Right? And what we're looking for is a space for things to change, things to be different in our society for the sake of humanity.
Yes.
That's why we say black consciousness is the claim, because this is where we talk as from experiences of black people. You know,
and people of color.
And
our sister over here, DJ Zelo Ray.
Okay.
She's in the house lending to the conversation.
You're racist. No, we have everybody up in the spot.
Yep.
Because we still have a conversation to be had, especially as people.
And we'll have some guests next month.
Yeah, So that's starting next month. It's Black History Month.
Hey, which is our History Month. Everybody's History Month. Okay.
Because Black history is American history, is world history.
It's world history, I say.
When you think about the accomplishments and the contributions of black people throughout history, then without that, we'd probably still be like in some dusty old buggies or something. If that, you know what I mean? So,
listen.
Yeah. So we're looking to have some guests. Next week will be our first guest.
Yeah.
It's gonna be coming up. And we want to start filling the space in the Soundbytes radio room.
Give us topics, ask us questions.
Give us topics.
About. What do you want to talk about?
I was going to say, join the live chat. You come up with stuff. Shout out to our sister Jay. You know, come out.
Coming through. Sister topics, Victoria coming through all the time. Brother Stephen coming through.
Yeah, shout out to y'all. Be with us in this conversation. We're not here to sit there and have it by ourselves. We're not talking to each other. I talk to her all the time.
All the time.
That's why we have a radio show. He's like, oh, fuck it. When you talk to each other, let's talk to everybody else. So, we talking to y'all. Be with us.
And
let's have the conversation. Especially if you feel you've been in a space where you don't know who to have the conversation with. Hey, join our live
and
talk
have the conversation.
Or you can listen, share it, and be with it. And if you feel so emboldened, join the conversation and be a catalyst for change. You know what I mean?
But also have it be a conversation of exploration.
Exploration
instead of diminishing. Because I'm presenting information and I'm talking about, and I'm asking some questions about some things. But hear this. The technique, method, and mechanism is to confront it, be with it, find solutions, move past it.
Exactly.
That's what it is. So it's not here to break somebody and tear them down. If that's how you are experiencing it, then that is your bag, and I'm gonna leave you with that.
And you can be with it, or you can choose to re-examine it and like have a different interpretation of your life. Otherwise, shit won't really change, bro. So
okay, because we are here standing for a world that is inclusive, spiritually connected, living in love, joy, harmony, peace, and abundance. Now, right? Send out the ancestor to protect, keep, and guide you through the week.
yes.
Protect your family, protect your heart, minds, and bodies. Namaste from my heart to yours. I am Neferatu Ma'ati Ra, the sacred lotus of love, joy, balance, harmony. Then unto where I get my heart.
See your cotton Neferah, favored by Rock, good of soul. And this is DJ Zelo Ray is in the building with us this week.
Blessings, thank you, y'all. You can catch me on social media at XILOREY, CeloRay.com, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Y'all know what it is. Love you guys.
I'll let your girl love up on your sister,
Yes,
DJ Zelo Ray.
Make everything easy for y'all over here. Find Zelo Ray everything.
Hey.
You know, we got Soundbytes Radio, Soundbytes International, Pat P Music, everything.
Yes.
You got Neferatu Ma'ati Ra on Instagram.
And the Keys to Soar.
Keys to Soar coming soon with all the socials and such. And the website popping soon, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
yeah, so be looking out for that. Be looking out for some events.
We're gonna do some events and like do some more stuff.
Yes.
To expand the conversation outside of the digital realm and really be in connection with our people. You know what I mean? Our people's all people. You know, our people. we want to talk to y'all. So
I want to. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I'm good.
I was closing.
We was closing. We were all closing.
I was like, one love to everybody out there. Join us next week, February again, Black History Month. We're gonna have our first guest.
Okay.
All right.
And if you want to be a guest on the Soundbytes International Radio Show,
email us.
Email us.
This is soundbytes@gmail.com.
Spell it out. This is Soundbytes. SOUNDBYTES.
MOUSE. No. That's what it sounds like. This is soundbytes@gmail.com. Email us here if you want to be a guest. Email us at thisissoundbytes@gmail.com. Email us a bio if you have music. Submit us a song or two. And let us know who you are and what you like to talk about, what you're contributing. But yeah, you can also send us some information about Black History Month if you want to talk about. Send your subject matter. If you want to send us some people. Some historic people, let us know. Yes, all right, so one love to you.
Sister Angela Davis, the Queen Mother.
Yes, blessing Sister Angela Davis. Her birthday was yesterday, so one love to y'all. One love to her for all she does. We don't know. One love to all our history makers. That's you right now by being with us. We're out here to make history, y'all. It's revolutionary. Revolution is live like this. We have
Revolution will not be televised. When we have technical difficulty, we still live.
That's how you know it's live.
Okay.
All right, one love.
Peace
y'all.
and blessings.
Take care. Soundbytes Radio, and we out.
Peace, and we out.